Greetings, YouTube and people of the interwebs. It's Ultra Maximus, and I'm here to talk about Transformers Prime, the new show for the Transformers. Alright, Transformers Prime. Hasbro's new take at the Transformers. It's a CG show. It's on the hub. It's the latest and greatest. I want to talk about the show, my opinions, my thoughts. I want to hear what you guys have to think about it. Leave a video post, type in a post, and I'm also going to, at the end of this review, I want to talk about the robots themselves, the characters individually. But first I want to talk about the show itself in general. We'll kind of give an overview of episode 1, and then we'll get into talking about the characters themselves. So, in overview, the show is CG. It's kind of, to me, it's like a cross between the movies that Michael Bay has put out and Transformers animated, with the look of Beast Wars. So it's a very odd show. The animation really reminds me of Beast Wars, and there's a lot of stuff in it that does. Unfortunately, the writing isn't. I don't see as good a quality as writing. I don't even see as good a quality writing as I did in Transformers animated. So I've got mixed feelings here. The show starts out, we see Cliffjumper and we see Rc. They're talking, they're patrolling, and they're looking for Energon. Great start. I like that a lot. They find a cache of Energon, like the crystal Energon, stuff you'd see with Beast Wars. Not a fan of that. I mean, we would have found that being humans on Earth, so I'm not really digging that too much. I like the whole old school converting our energy sources to Energon kind of deal, but we've gone the way of Energon deposits in this series. Heavy influence from the movies in this show, it seems. So we get introduced to Cliffjumper Rc. Like Cliffjumper, love the fact they cast The Rock to do the voice of Cliffjumper. Problem is, he didn't do a very good job. I don't think. He kind of phoned it in, which is really a shame because he's done really great work, like the Rundown. I'm trying to think of the show's name. That was a great movie. It was awesome. He did an awesome job in that movie. But he fell flat, I think, as Cliffjumper, which is really unfortunate. But we find Cliffjumper, he tangles with some Decepticons. He ends up getting killed like in 5 minutes of the show, which sucks because the character was kind of cool. I like the design of the character. But it drives the plot. It gives Rc angst. So the Autobots show up too late. The Decepticons have taken Cliffjumper. We get introduced to Starscream, and Starscream kills Cliffjumper. Then the Autobots kind of give a little funeral for him. Now, that one thing, the music in this series, there's no opening credits to it, but the music, it sounds so much like the new Star Trek music. It's almost like they took it right out of the library from the new Star Trek movie, which Orky and Kurtzman worked on that one as well. So they're the producers of this cartoon show. So we're going to see huge elements, I think, from both Star Trek and from the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Not surprising at all there. So then Rc starts running around. She runs into what she calls twins. 2 Decepticons. They pretty much look like drones, like Viacom drones from Beast Wars, or Beast Machines to me. Her and Bumblebee tangle with them. Bumblebee's very much out of the movie that Michael Bay did, even to the voice, but instead of the radio sounds coming out of him, it's beeps and boops and that kind of stuff. So, but very much Michael Bay Bumblebee, which, okay, sure. Rc reminds me more of Black Arachnia than she does Rc, but she's kind of the driving force of the first episode. She's the one that finds Jack. She gets tangled up with this human character named Jack, kind of an emo kid with typical haircut and that kind of stuff. He doesn't want to get involved with these Transformers. He gets kind of roped into it. Then they meet another human kid named Raph, who reminds me a little bit like a cross between Chip and Jimmy Neutron. He's a little kid, he's got glasses, kind of a nerdy geek, and he gets paired up with Bumblebee. Well, then Bulkhead shows up, which was kind of nice to see that character from Transformers Animated move into this series. Pretty much about the same character, big, green, bulky, same design type, and turns into a big green truck. So he's pretty much about the same. They did an okay job there with that, I think. And then he ends up getting partnered with Miko, which is, I believe, a little Japanese girl that doesn't really look Japanese, kind of a punk rock artist type chick, real spunky. So they go through and they get hooked up with these kids, and Optimus Prime's like, we got to get these kids because if the Decepticons know they're our allies, then they're going to be after them. They're in danger, so the Autobots go get the kids and bring them back to the Autobot base. And Ratchet's there and all the other Autobots, and then Optimus comes in and gives his big speech about how they're from the planet Cybertron and they're autonomous robotic life forms, also known as Autobots. A lot of staple stuff out of the Michael Bay movies. And basically tell the kids what's going on, the war with Cybertron, the Civil War, hunting for Energon, the Autobots and the Decepticons. Now, it's funny because in the Michael Bay movies, Optimus called Megatron brother, which had a big uproar. And in this cartoon, he says, one I considered my brother. So maybe they wanted to elaborate on that a little bit. And then Soundwave comes up to Starscream towards the end of the show, and then, kind of tells him that Megatron's going to show up, and they transwarp him in from deep space, which the transwarp gates were very similar from Transformers Animated, I think. And then Megatron shows up, and the episode's done. So, basically, we get in the first running of that episode, we get the introduction of the characters, Autobots, Decepticons, we get the human characters. That's about it. Nothing too huge. Again, no opening credits. It just kind of comes in, very much like the Michael Bay movies, where the logo comes in, transforms, they do credits for writers and producers, of course, Orky and Kurtzman, that kind of stuff. No theme song, just music, again, that sounds like it came right off the soundtrack to the new Star Trek movies that Orky and Kurtzman worked on. So, it's just kind of there. Some good comedy bits, some real good one-liners, like, haven't you heard, humans multiply, and Rc uses the word scrap a lot, and it's pretty humorous, the little spot she's in, that she drops that line. So, it didn't blow me out of the water, but it definitely didn't repulse me like Armada or Energon or Cybertron did. So, I would say this series so far, and we'll see how it goes, I would say this is probably behind Animated and Beast Wars for me, definitely, as far as the rankings go. So we'll give it a shot, we'll keep watching and see how it rolls. So let's take a look at some of the characters. Alright, so here we have a view of all the Autobots, and in the background we have the Decepticons. Up front we have got Optimus Prime. He's pretty much taken right out of the Michael Bay movies, even down to the mask that folds away, that reveals his robot lips. Pretty much straight animated design from that movie, so there's not really that much difference there. Now, Peter Cullen does return as the voice of Optimus Prime, which is really cool. Can't really go wrong with that. The only thing I'm not a big fan of, I don't like the lips, especially in the CG show. He looks a lot like Optimus Primal, I think. So, I don't know. Kind of iffy on that one. He's kind of a standard insert there. Must-have Transformer. So, I could live with it. Over here to the left, we've got Rc in this version of the show. She's a motorcycle, much like the Michael Bay movies. She's blue, and I think has some purple highlights here and there. Doesn't really look like Rc to me. Doesn't act like Rc. She is much more like Black Arachnia, I think. Kind of spunky, kind of a little grittier. Kind of got the bad chick attitude. She kind of runs the show at this point, I think, in episode 1. She's got some really good, funny bits to her. While she's not the RC that I would think of in the series, she's definitely a good character. I did like her character. Back over in the corner there, we got Bumblebee. He is almost a carbon copy of the Bumblebee out of the Michael Bay movies. Like I said earlier, he even... same speech patterns, except instead of the radio songs and clips, he's using beeps and boops. So, which is kind of weird because the other Transformers can understand him. And okay, sure, I can get that. They're robots. The little kid that gets partnered with him, Raph, mentions, hey, he wants me to go with him. And the older kid's like, well, how do you know? Well, he said so. Well, how do you know how to speak, robot little boy? That's just kind of weird. I don't know. Ratchet, over on the right side there. Ratchet is pretty much, again, out of the movie. He's very proper. He's got the same kind of body design, except for his head is much more like Gen 1. So, and his personality is a little bit like animated. He's a little grouchy. So I kind of like that. I hope they go further with that in this series. Then we got Cliffjumper back over in the corner. Great character. Like the design. Love the horns from G1. Even make that he's got a punchline with it. Mess with Cliffjumper, you get the horns. Unfortunately, he dies really quick. I would really have liked to seen The Rock do a better job with the voice, and I understand why they got The Rock to do the voice, because he was only in it for 5 minutes, so they could afford to get him for a short period of time. But unfortunately, he didn't cut it for me in the voicing department. And then we've got Bulkhead back there in the back. He's right out of Transformers Animated. His robot design is almost identical. Big, heavy, gravelly voice, very similar to the animated one. Have absolutely no problems with that character. He is pretty good. Back up on the cliff, it's kind of hard to see, and I'll do some more shots here, closer shots of some of these robots. You've got Megatron, you've got Starscream, you've got Soundwave, and then you've got a Decepticon drone of some sorts, I think. And I'll talk more about those here in a minute.